we go.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Making Me Watch Movies. The movie you're making me watch today is Maximum Overdrive. That's right. The directorial
Movie you made us
debut
watch.
of Stephen King.
The one and
The
only.
only movie he ever directed.
Hey, well, we don't need to say that.
And it showed.
1986, not to be mistaken with, I think, 97 remake Trucks, not directed by Stephen King. Not even starring Emilio Estevez.
What a shame.
What a shame.
They
You
had
got
opportunities there.
You got a
They could have. It's got Charlie Sheen, you know.
Right, Charlie. What's the
brother.
dad? Martin. Where's Martin at?
That's super dad.
Yeah, I know. Martine.
Anthony's
Estevez?
mind blown that Emilio Estevez is Charlie Sheen's brother. He
No.
does not know. He didn't know that.
My mind did go blank right there for a second.
Like you looked.
I thought four things at once and then forgot where
Yeah.
I was and then remembered.
Yeah.
Wow, Estevez is a Sheen, huh?
Yeah, he took
Yeah.
his mommy's last name.
Well, Sheen's not though. I think Martin Sheen. That was a made-up stage name.
Yeah.
I don't think that's actually his name. I think he's a Estevez as well. And then Charlie followed suit.
Yeah,
with his
whatever.
baby.
Whatever. Show me the money. No, that's not that movie. What's the money movie that he did?
Money Talks
Money Talks.
with Chris Tucker.
Mighty Ducks.
Wait, what about the other one with when they did and he did it with his son?
Mighty
With both
Ducks.
of them. Nah, that's the Estevez. Anyway, there's a great Rob Lowe podcast on Two Bears.
Mhm.
And he talks about
Yep.
he's got some Estevez stories. Did you listen to that one?
I don't think I listened to all of it. I think
That's
I
good.
watched some of it.
You got a haiku for Maximum Overdrive? Overdrive? All
Yeah, I wrote a couple, but I don't think either of them are good.
right, give
We'll
me your
read both
worst one.
because I don't have one.
Send one to Schwartz real quick so he could read
Give
it.
me the one you don't like, and I'll read
Maybe
that one.
he'll read it better than you wrote it, you know?
Maybe. Tremors
All right.
meets Christine with a sprinkle of
hold
the
on,
mist.
hold on. I interrupted
Ahead
you.
of its time.
Do it again.
I don't want to. All right, I'll give you the other one that you half listened. Ahead of its time, the machines are all of us, and of course AI.
Sick.
First one was good.
First one was better, but I didn't hear any of it.
It's fine. It's just about other movies. Tremors meets Christine with a sprinkle of The Mist. Stephen King directs or something like that.
Yeah, those were awful.
My first
Yeah, I
thought
know.
about
Just
this
like this
movie
movie.
was how M. Night Shyamalan totally took the idea for The Happening from
Oh,
this
yeah.
movie. Like that's where he got that's what this is. It's a
This
it's
is
shitty in its
a lot
own
of
way,
movies.
part of it.
There's a lot of movies. I have a whole list of movies that remind me of, but here's my haiku is AC/DC kills, electronic homicide, poked out of my mind.
Nice.
But yeah, I agree. The Happening, Tremors, fucking
Mhm.
Dawn of the Dead, Final Destination, Terminator.
Well, Dawn of the Dead was before this, but yeah.
Okay. I was in my head. I'm thinking of the 2004 one, but yeah, you're
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
But in the original one, it's the same thing. They're all like stuck in a place while the zombies are outside, right?
Well, what's crazy
Night
is
of the Living Dead. Yeah.
what's
that what it
crazy
is?
is that like Stephen King said he wanted to make this movie because he didn't like the way his other adaptations were made all the time. Like he said things like that, and he goes from making these like crazy stories that are very character driven and dark and dramatic and deal with big things to making a fucking movie that is just camp. And I thought to myself, so my theory is Stephen King was like, I'm gonna fucking do it and show everybody how to do it. He got there, he did way too much coke, and he just didn't do it. That's my theory on this movie.
The actor
Sounds-
said that
yeah,
he was hammered by 10 a.m.
Yeah.
They said he was on his 10th beer by 8 in the morning.
I read that George A. Romero might
Yeah.
have directed like 60% of this movie without getting any credit for it.
I also heard that.
Yeah, I heard he was always on set because him and fucking old Stevie Boy are friends, and he ended up because Steven was so busy playing with the soda machine in his nose that he fucking had to do it all.
Yeah, I also
And
heard
the
that.
reason why people
That
think
makes
that
sense.
is because people I didn't recognize this, but people have studied it, I guess, and say that there's cuts and there's framing and there's things that Romero does in all his movies that are in this movie multiple times, and that's what they're getting it from.
because the movie doesn't look bad. Like
Looks great.
It shot well,
Looks great. Yeah, looks
and
great.
it left to his own devices. I don't think Stephen King could have done that.
Definitely
you know-
edited poorly though. Definitely some weird cuts where it's like, oh, that's different than that last cut, or that's different than this, or it's just like time and logic and physics
Continuity
were all
situations?
kind of continuity. All that was kind of thrown out the window in this movie.
Well, yeah. Let's go back to the last line of my haiku here. Coked out of my mind.
Yeah, no, all this makes sense with this. I mean, it's pretty clear that why Stephen King only directed one movie.
Yeah.
He didn't do a very good job.
I think he even says that.
Yes.
yeah,
Someone asked me that one time. They go, "How come you never made another movie?" Because I made Maximum Overdrive.
But I also
Yeah.
read that he said he would like to give it another shot sober, which
Yeah.
I don't know. That might be
Yeah.
cool. Let's talk
But he
about.
also denounced this movie and called it a movie for morons or something like that.
He did say
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, I don't think he denounced it. I heard that. I watched that interview, and I think in that interview he was still in his Cokie days, because he called Splash. He like compared it to Splash. He's like, Splash is a moron movie, but it's nothing in there makes sense. It's just fun to watch. He's like, that's what I wanted to make. I don't think he was. I mean, maybe it was like he was saying it wasn't serious, but it's definitely campy. And I in my head, campy seems terrible. Campy in my head, nobody does campy on purpose. But I guess that's
not
his
true.
thing.
That's not true. Look at
I know.
Machete.
I'm just saying in
Look
my
at all
head.
that
No,
shit. Like that's on purposely campy.
yes, but that's like trying to be something like this.
To a point, Sin City is well, I guess it's not camp actually, but Machete's camp for sure.
There was a shot, and what made me realize immediately, like, okay, this is supposed to be funny, was like when it was a shot from the cockpit when it was playing Flight of the Valkyries. I'm like, okay, that's funny. This movie is just trying to be funny. Like that was the part where I'm like, all right,
100%.
I get what this movie is.
Yeah.
It's not like a poorly executed horror movie that you're just laughing at. It's like it was meant to be satirical. I think it was meant to be funny. It was meant to be a satire. Like, listen to the soundtrack. Like AC/DC is not a fucking horror movie sound. It's action. It's comedy. It's not meant to be like scary.
It's almost like a John Carpenter movie on like a Red Bull in a way.
Yeah, it was a poorly made John Carpenter.
I
This
don't know if I
Christine on
agree with
coke.
that. I don't know if I agree with that, because I think that he might have gone into this thinking, like he was saying, I'm gonna do Stephen King like no one's ever done Stephen King before, and then he made this, and this sucks. And he was like, in my head, I think he was like, fuck what they did with this. Like, this is gonna be the bloodiest, this is gonna be the scariest. And he says, like, prepare to get scared. And that little fuck, I mean, that little intro that he does that he says all that stuff in, I mean, there's no way he remembers doing that.
No, cocaine's a hell of a drug. I mean, if he went out to try to make a movie better than The Shining, that he didn't do it.
No, I mean,
I know he goes on,
didn't he?
Yeah, and did he? I know he goes on record for not liking Kubrick's The Shining.
No,
yeah, he did.
He hated it.
Both those things are true. He hated it, and he remade it in the 90s as like a 4-part miniseries with Rebecca De Mornay and Steven Weber.
And
okay, that was
I've heard it's not terrible too.
He wrote the script,
that,
but it was
he
a TV
was
movie.
The producer on it, and like was right there, being like, "This is what it is." You know what I mean? It's not that. This is what it is.
I don't remember that very well. I remember seeing it, but I don't remember it. I don't remember rewatching it.
I saw it back in the day. Like my mom was watching it, I remember, and I checked it out a little bit, but I haven't watched it since then. Why would I watch it? The fucking whatever Stephen King thinks. The fucking Kubrick version is amazing, so he can suck my dick.
I mean, maybe if it was a departure from his story, I get that. Like, if he cares so much about it, he cares so much about his story that this director changed his story a bit. I'm okay with that. Like, sometimes people get upset about adaptations being like so different than the original shit, but I never want to care. I think creative freedom
adaptation
is
episode
important.
17.
Yeah. Shout out to that one.
Probably like 45.
Yeah, once someone else decides to adapt your shit and has reign over it as a director or producer, you can't expect anything unless they voluntarily bring you in and want you to be part of that process. You know what I mean? That's how it works sometimes.
He didn't write the screenplay for Shining, did he?
Yeah, no, I don't think he had anything to do with that.
What, the original?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're not gonna write the screenplay, if you're not gonna write the screenplay for it, and that was like a thing in this one, right, where it was like so they De Laurentiis hit me up and was like, I want you to write the screenplay, and he's like, no, I don't want to do it. And then he was like, but I want you to do it. And so he did it, and then he was like, I want you to direct it, and he was like, I don't want to do it. And he was like, but I want you to do it. And so he did it. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I lost my train of thought. So anyway, campy.
Imagine camp. But this is the thing. I don't agree with you that camp is bad. I think camp is a choice, and it can be fun. And this movie, I mean, this is the thing. If you were to describe this movie before you've seen it to anybody, you would probably not expect it to be maybe camp, but you also don't expect it to be like Shawshank Redemption. You know what I mean? Like the premise of this movie doesn't really give you much hope for it being like some there will be blood type of viewing. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of expect that going in.
I mean, imagine if Darabont did this, and if Darabont adapted Trucks. He's done like 3 King novellas.
Yeah,
so
The Mist, Green Mile, and Shawshank.
Yeah, so it'd be funny if he's
but
like
all those sucked.
Trucks by Frank Darabont.
That would be great.
All right.
He also made The Majestic, which was the craziest movie ever. I don't even know why.
Was that Stephen King? That wasn't.
No, but just saying, he made that movie.
Yeah, that was.
So anyway, I agree. I think my thinking on camp is in my head I always put camp as like something that accidentally came out of what you were trying to do. But I think he did. I think he did intentionally go. I had to change my mind, change the way I thought about campy. Because in my head, every time I see something campy, I'm like, this fucking sucks.
Right. But episode 69, Zombievers Camp, fantastic film.
Yeah. I guess it's the difference between like they definitely meant to, because that's a comedy versus this was supposed to be a horror. And
so what are we arguing here? You're saying that Jake's saying that he went in thinking it was camp, and you're saying that
no one's arguing.
Didn't do a good job.
No one's arguing anything. I'm just discussing
so argumentative.
The word campy.
So you're
like
saying
the use
do you like camp?
No, I don't think I do. And because of that, I always put it in like you either did it on purpose to be hilarious, or it was accidentally a product of whatever you were trying to do, which was be scary in this feature.
What are your thoughts on satires? Like, is that same or is that a little different?
Satire's like the comedy version of what I'm talking about, because those are meant to be satirical, like Machete, like fucking Death Proof. I feel like those movies are trying to be like this movie, and this movie wasn't really trying to be anything. It just became this,
Okay. I mean, I said that at the beginning. I think that could have happened. So, but also, I think the one thing you said, it looked good and it told a story. Whether or not the story was cohesive at any moment, and whether these characters had any kind of emotional connection to one another, no. Like, this is the thing. He shot the movie, and the movie made sense, but there was no like emotional connection to anything, and you didn't care about anything except for these fucking things, you know what I mean? These crazy things that were going on, and that's what it was. It was kind of like a video game. It was kind of like Twisted Metal.
I think this could have become camp in the edit. Maybe it was originally intended to be horror, but because of his poor directing, it could have they could have been like, well, this is what we're gonna make it into.
Yeah. Well, also, I in like interviews and stuff, Emilio Estevez, fucking Lisa Simpson, they all at a certain point were like, they said it. They're like, at a certain point, we all kind of realized what was going on, and they all basically just stopped taking it seriously. Because I think Emilio Estevez is taking it pretty seriously through like the first half of this movie, and then toward the end, it's just like there's just a couple. I think I think you can see where he gets it, where he's just like there's random laughter, where he's like he's like, oh, I hope they brought their Amex cards, and he goes out and fuels up the fucking trucks. I feel like there's a moment where you could tell he got what was going on too, and they say that too. They say that they knew that maybe it wasn't what they expected.
Yeah, I could see that, because there's definitely a lot lost that could have been there, and that was probably added in later as well. Like I'm saying with like the edit, because like the whole story and the whole point of why it was all happening was never really scroll. Yeah, it was like told in the beginning and end.
Yeah,
well, it was told at the beginning, and that's all we really needed to know. But I don't think I ever read the end one.
Yeah. Like they just added the alien thing. I mean, they had that one dude theorizing. There was like that one scene of dudes like, maybe just aliens are controlling everything, and like that was kind of it. But then like at the very end, they're like, yeah, UFO took control of the comet. They could have just left it at like a weird, mysterious, we were in a tail of a comet, so all this shit was going haywire. But then they like added another layer to it of like, oh, by the way, aliens were controlling this whole thing, when we never saw a fucking alien or anything the entire movie.
So
was just
that
like,
also
that was a post decision. That's the clear post decision.
For sure.
Someone was like, so what's happening with this green mist?
Doesn't make
and they were like, all right, we'll put it at the end.
Yeah.
That's what someone said.
This movie made no sense.
Listen,
so much of this movie made no sense.
There's no way that the end product is what he meant to do. I guess that's like, you can't be hammered every day and coked out of your fucking gourd, and probably the good stuff too. Like, let's be honest, he was He was doing really good cocaine. This is Stephen King in 86.
I mean, he probably called Romero and was like, yeah, you got to come save my ass. You got to come direct this fucking movie.
Did you read somewhere that David Lynch might have directed a scene or two?
Well, what happened was they were filming Blue Velvet. I watched this interview. They were filming Blue Velvet at the same time, and Laurentiis was the producer on both. So the crews and the cast were hanging out a little bit. So that's also a possibility. I hope that's true. I hope both Romero and David Lynch were on set, and Stephen King was like, and they were just like, all right, calm down.
Guys, no idea what I'm doing right now.
You have no idea what I'm doing. He like freaks out like DiCaprio almost by the time.
Yeah, George A. Romero, David Lynch, and Stephen King are all hanging out together doing coke, and they're just, we're gonna help you out, Steve. We're gonna help you out because you're kind of fucked here. We got you.
Yeah, I hope that happened.
I think it did. Let's say it did. That's what happened.
Let's say it did. That's a fact.
Why
Let's say it's a fact right now.
Why
Jake
not?
said it was a fact.
So should we jam through this or
and
what?
De Laurentiis was like, fuck yeah.
Well, we didn't. We did a lot of complaining about this movie, but the fucking kills are great. The kills are awesome. The soda machine kill was awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, it's so
soda
stupid,
machine,
but awesome.
The steamroller.
Yeah.
The steamroller, the kid, that was great.
That was great.
Dude, my favorite. I love when like halfway through the movie, when the kid's just riding his bike through the town, all the people are just dead in the different ways, and like the dogs got the fucking.
So that's the scene that I read or heard that Lynch directed. That's one.
Awesome. That was the best scene in the whole movie.
That's the scene that sticks with me in my mind. As when I think about this movie as a kid, I think of the goblin face. Or when I was a kid, I watched this movie 100 times. When I was a kid, I used to watch it at my grandpa's house because my uncle, who was a little younger than me, loved like military and guns and shit. This was one of those movies that were like, all right, we're watching fucking trucks. A fucking military truck takes over and they find the fucking cache of weapons like fucking Terminator 2. Damn it, I'm losing my train of thought all the time. But I used to watch this all the time. And that scene, the scene of him riding down she sees the guys like hanging out of the VW Bug, the girl's hanging out of the window with she was blow drying her hair and somehow it fucking choked her to death. There's a dog with a car in his mouth.
That's what I was saying.
Like an electric car, and it killed him somehow. And it's crazy. Sometimes they like do it Happening style where they make you kill yourself, and then sometimes they just shock you to death like Giancarlo Esposito in the arcade.
That was cool. That was a great scene.
Early Gus Fring.
All right, so get into it, Anthony.
Fun.
Get into it. Tell us what this movie is.
This movie is about June 19th, 1987 at 9:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Earth passed through into an extraordinarily diffuse tail of Rhea M, a rogue comet. According to the astronomical calculations, the planet would remain at the tail of the comet for the next 8 days, 5 hours, 29 minutes, and 23 seconds.
Very specific.
Yeah, they could have left it at that.
I think.
Yeah, they definitely could have.
Even that was fun. I thought that was cool. I actually like things that have like little scrolls. I think that's cool. So I was into it. But the end one was awesome if we would have just seen a goddamn alien. You know what I mean? The show was an alien.
The end one was a little much. I think they could have just said from what I remember, I don't know if I don't think they added this in the past however many years since I watched it as a child. But I just remember the end. It was like they all made it out. The comet passed by, and whatever was fucking shit up stopped fucking shit up. But maybe that's just my memory.
They didn't really need that. They could, they could have just been like the survivors, made it past at the time of the comet.
They got in a boat. They got in a boat. Another. Isn't that how they escape in the zombie movie in Night of the Living Dead? They get on a boat.
That's how they escape in. It's how they escape.
Yeah, it is. No, yeah, that's right.
No, it's Dawn of the Dead. It's Dawn of the Dead. In the end, they get.
What did I say?
Go to the island. Night of the Living Dead.
I'm mixing those up.
Who cares? It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's not. It's a totally different movie.
What about the other boats that have engines? Like, why wouldn't those boats go after that boat?
Yeah.
Like, the trucks can't come in water, but there's other boats that
You're gonna talk about logic in this fucking movie.
Let me refer to you the last line of my haiku.
There's no logic.
There was
poked out of
no
my
logic
mind.
at all.
Lisa Simpson said he would be on his 10th beer by 8:30 a.m.
Yeah,
Lisa Simpson's character was hilarious.
She was the worst.
Are they dead? Are you dead?
She was the worst. All the women in this were pretty terribly written, but it's not what this movie was about. This movie is about trucks surrounding people in a Dixie Boy truck stop and trying to kill them all and succeeding a good portion.
I mean, it's about your machinery going haywire and trying to kill you. It's about all the things that, and then this is the thing. This is the 80s, Terminator. So technology was still primitive as shit compared to now. So like, even the things that happen in this movie are still outdated, which is hilarious. Like,
is this the first? Is this the first AI? Like,
no, you have
wasn't Terminator
Space Odyssey. The original Terminator was before this.
Yeah, the original Terminator was for this. So
what was Terminator? 85,
84,
84, I believe. Yeah. Damn. I want to say Space Odyssey had been like one of the original AI, like
that's number one. That's the original for sure.
That's got it. Yeah, I mean, there might be other one, but that's 2001 Space 2001 Space Odyssey. Yes,
there might be like those black and
full
white kind of what do they call those campy movies that we're talking about? There might be some of those, but
yeah, I could see some like 50s space movies kind of being like similar in the sense, but
the only one kind of the one they took it seriously, the one that took science fiction movies seriously was 2001. Like, I mean, if you watch Interstellar, it's basically the visuals from 2001. Like, even Christopher Nolan even says that. Christopher Nolan says Stanley Kubrick and Ridley Scott are his two biggest influences. And if you think about those, that's who he is. He's a mix of both those people. He's got Ridley Scott type action and stories, and you got Stanley Kubrick like filmmaking, like framing and music and the way he does that shit.
Mm-hmm. First thing that happens in this movie is a machine called Stephen King an asshole.
Yeah, which I love that the machine is taunting him. That's great. That's super cool.
Like the scroll just fuck you,
you
asshole.
That's literally the first frame is the bank, right? And it's a scroll on top. It just says fuck you.
Fuck you.
Honestly, the first time I watched this again, I was like, I was like, is there something wrong with it? I didn't know. I didn't. In my head, I was like, that's not part of the movie. They wouldn't do that. That was hilarious. Goofing. And he goes, hey, Sugar Buns. This machine just called me an asshole.
Stephen King himself.
Then the drawbridge deaths. Then enter the great score of AC/DC.
Yeah.
Down. The drawbridge turns on people, Final Destination style. That's kind of where I'm thinking Final Destination. It's just shit going wrong.
Yeah.
That was another part where I'm just like, all right, they're just not using logic and physics in this, because like the drawbridge was like maybe a 45-degree angle, and then there were shots of cars like falling as if it was like dropping from like 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, and then like the width of the bridge also seemed to be randomly changing.
Nah, that was real.
Shot from shot, but just whatever.
The machines were trying to kill the people. They're going,
but it wasn't showing them move. It showed it open, but it wasn't. But it was just like randomly different.
And they got the operator. He was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
Acting is superb in this movie. Probably the best part.
I mean, it's got some pretty legit actors in it, but they all don't really have much to say. So that's the fun part.
No, there's not a lot
to be said.
Deep characters at all.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie was the best movie of '86, but we'll get to there.
I don't know about that.
Then we meet everybody at the diner, which again, you can go through them, but they're just kind of, everyone's kind of an ancillary character.
Yeah, no one's really.
Yeah, just talk about like the cool kills and like the cool set pieces, and we should be good.
Oh, really? The coolest set piece is the Green Goblin.
Yeah, that's cool that they use that, and they were allowed to use that.
Why? If he even asked,
he definitely. Yeah, they didn't.
Why was that a thing though? Just to make it more menacing.
He's a fan of Spider-Man, dude.
I think he had to give the bad guy a face.
Maybe it
wasn't
him.
The only bad guy. It was just one of the trucks. It was a very random decision.
You're right. He wasn't even like the leader of the. He was just one. It was just one. Apparently the smart truck was the little army one that came in later.
Yeah.
So yeah, there all these trucks, including the Green Goblin, surround this truck stop full of everyone. Oh, what are the deaths? What's the Wanda?
The first death
Wanda
the soda
gets
machines, right? Soda machine kills the one guy, the coach or the teacher.
I think the first death is someone gets splashed in the face with the first time we see some fucked up shit is the guy's pumping gas it stops pumping gas and he's like, why does it stop pumping gas? And he like puts his eyeball in the fucking thing and it squirts him and blinds him. And then
for a really long time too. Like I was like watching like
why isn't this firework going off?
Yeah, why are we gonna get the gas? And then it was like 30 seconds of him being like,
yeah, what was he, coked out of his mind? And then we go inside and we see Wanda chopping up things. Emilio's not helping because he's talking to this fucking scumbag boss, Mr. Driver or something. The knife that, I mean, that's probably the most unreasonable one of this whole thing, because
the one that was like
the electric knife.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did it? Yeah, I mean that one was dumb. Everyone made fun of her for it. I would too. But Emilio smashes it as if it was a fucking rabid possum. Is that what you do to possums? Then we go. Oh no! And then we see Gus Fring playing arcade, and he gets killed.
Yeah.
So that's the first.
Yeah, that was a cool kill. I liked that kill. That was fun. It looked cool.
And that was
cool.
like, then that he just kind of got electrocuted. They didn't make him do anything. Nothing physically happened to him. He just touched it.
Well, he
electrocuted him.
Yeah, but he like glowed really cool, and like the electrocuting was cool. It wasn't just like a little electrocution. He got fucked up. Like he was fully on fire.
Yeah, it was like Marv in Home Alone. I don't think he was on fire. He definitely wasn't on fire.
If you go back, his whole fire wasn't there, but the electrocution was like he was red, saying like that's what they did with it. They made him a different color. Like he got electrocuted like that. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was in an arcade. Fun. It wasn't intense, but whatever. Then we're at the Little League game.
Yeah, and then the coach tries to get some soda pop, and the machine goes after him, and then kills a bunch of kids with. It was like a machine gun with like soda.
That was amazing.
That was pretty rad. I've never experienced a soda machine like that. There was a commercial later on, in like the 2000s, where a soda machine was shooting sodas at people. People are like, total ripoff. I wonder if they had to pay Stephen King for that.
Yum.
He's like, I patented the soda machine that shoots fast enough to kill someone.
Soda machine gun.
And then
you meet little Jimmy on the bike.
Yeah, little Jimmy's. We meet little Bobby first, and then Bobby gets head smashed. Which there was apparently what his idea was to have his head get smashed by the what's it called? A steamroller comes out of nowhere, busts down the scoreboard, starts chasing him. Number one, steamroller's on grass, probably not going anywhere very fast. Number two, steamrollers don't go fast at all anyway, but somehow this kid got caught up in his fucking bike and just laid there long enough for this thing to run over him. And it was great. It was supposed to run over him, explode his head, get this blood all over the wheel, and then like a printing press put a trail of blood. And that was Stephen King's fucking coked out mind. He was like, that's the best thing. That's going to be crazy. It's like a printing press of blood, and children's blood and brains. But instead, it just exploded. And he in his head he thought it looked even better because it looked like the kid's head blew the fuck up when it got ran over, but the sensors would not let him put it in, so that's why it cuts away, doesn't show any of the blood. But I think both of those would have been amazing and probably would have gotten by today.
I love the scene Austin Powers where he's like, stop. This guy's coming like all the way across the room.
That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Let's see who dies next. Then we meet Lisa Simpson and her husband. The married couple comes in. The main girl Brett and this Bible salesman come in. I enjoy how everyone ended up making it too. I mean, it's a little like, all right, how do these guys? It's kind of reminded me of Identity when everyone kind of pulls up. We don't know who the fuck. It's way less deep, like way shallow. Yeah. There's nothing going on below the surface of this movie like there is in that one, but it's just kind of
Planet Terror too. That's the kind of what happens. Planet Terror, they all meet up at the barbecue spot and then they try to go to Mexico. Remember?
I did find that interesting that it was reminiscent of movies that weren't made yet. There were so many movies that it reminded me of that were like that hadn't existed yet.
Well, so they obviously took it from this movie. Like as campy as this may be, like it obviously influenced a lot of people.
It must have. Weirdly enough, yes.
I mean, the idea is very, very of the machine taking over and doing things isn't like the most like original idea, but it's like an idea that you can make your own, and he did, And the people getting like stuck in one place, like it was one of those, like just.
Well, his idea was trucks. Come together. It was just trucks, and I think for the movie, he expanded it. Like I think. Another thing I read, he was like, it was like the grand idea came to him to write this, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make it about all electronics."
But he already had Christine also, like, but it was still focused on just the trucks. And I feel like they could have utilized so many more electronic devices to make this much more crazier, but they just didn't and made it about the trucks.
Has Stephen King written? Is there? No, never mind. I take all that back. I was gonna say, is there a fucking good Stephen King movie? But not counting The Shining because I think
there's many.
But yeah, I forgot about the prison movies. Both of those are amazing. Yeah. Give it to Frank D.
We'll do a Stephen King draft after this.
Nah.
Stephen King adaptation. No. Okay, fine.
We kind of skipped over the part of that possibly David Lynch directed, the kid riding down the bike. We also talked about
that's my favorite scene in
on.
the whole movie. That scene was now that you say that, I could see that being a scene in Twin Peaks, like easy, because it's about like a suburban place with like crazy shit happening, and that could have totally
the sprinklers are fucking with him because they're turning on as he's going by, and then when he looks back, they turn off. So you're right. They it's not only they're trying to kill him, they're kind of fucking with him too. What is this? What is the alien? Now that we know it's an alien, what is it doing? It's not just making electronics murderous. It's giving them like a brain to a certain extent. Every electronic, a little brain, and depending on like what makes that, what is the factor that makes how smart the item is?
You're going too deep, man. You're asking too many questions already. Like,
you know what I'm saying, though? Because some
like,
things are smarter, and they even say that. They're like, those are the grunts. The big fucking things are the grunts, and he's the smart one, like the one with the gun. And then he wasn't, because all he did was like, they were like, hey, just act like you're fucking, just act cool, act like you're talking to me.
Yeah,
and then he was like, and throws the grenade and blows him up, and that was it. And it was like, got him.
He does this to the gun. He goes, ugh, it spins. It's so stupid. I was like, this is the climax of like the fucking movie right here, and it's like nothing.
Also, what electronics is in that at all? I don't think there's any electronics. There's no electronics in the gun. There's no electronic. It didn't look like.
True,
there is no logic to any of this. They were just like, yo, what can we get to come alive and try to kill people?
And like you talking about the boats, like how everyone drove in fine until they got out of their cars,
right.
And then their cars were fine. What happened to the cars?
It's like certain
they had radios.
Engines and electronics took control at different times. It wasn't all like
I
all
guess
at once.
I'm with you, Jake. Like, we need a little more explaining as to what exactly the process is and how they choose which electronics to. It's an alien, so aliens can do whatever they want.
By their logic,
aliens coked out of their fucking giant green head.
By their logic, why didn't they just use a bunch of military everything? Why didn't they use more? They showed one plane. Like, why don't you take over all of these things if you really want to like eradicate the human race, which I think was the idea of the alien.
Was it?
Because that was what the guy
trying to fuck with them.
That's what the guy theorized, and for some reason that random ass theory in like the end of the movie became what it was because of the scroll. So that was right. It was aliens and a UFO. But by their lie, why didn't they use like other, military machine? They just like semi trucks seem to be their main source of attack, which is sort of not good because they're huge and they're kind of slow in certain settings.
Well,
they don't
have
sharp turning radiuses.
The short was called trucks.
It was truck, right? We're complaining the movie doesn't make sense, but that's of course it doesn't. Like I can't.
You guys gotta stop complaining.
There's not getting past that.
It's fine. It doesn't need to make sense. What we're doing is just posing questions, Schwartz. That's all we're doing. We don't need to. I'm not complaining in any way. I'm just saying. I
got a question. This is more of a general of these types of movies observation. The kid on the bike seemed to be doing pretty good with the bike. Why aren't bicycles utilized more in like post-apocalyptic films? Because like the thing that it's always like transportation's always an issue. Like getting place to place. Do they use bikes in that?
No,
I mean, they probably would look like.
Spoiler: he probably wouldn't be good on a bike.
Look funny, but it's like jumping from car to car. You're always getting stuck in weird traffic jams. You can get through the traffic jams in the bike. You run out of fuel. That's always an issue in these post-apocalyptic movies. Why isn't the bicycle utilized more in post-apocalyptic films? Too easy? I don't know. Tell me.
Or horses.
Horses is something. Yeah, but horses, you got to feed the horse. You got to, give water out. A bicycle is good to go.
In The Walking Dead, they had both those things.
Bicycles
and horses.
When do they use bicycles? They use motorcycles, but when did they use bicycles?
Oh, that's true. They had
show me
horses and motorcycles. You're right. They were bicycles.
Where Daryl's out there
bicycling.
Yeah, you just no, but bicycling, no. And they're quiet. They're also quiet. They would help the zombie apocalypse situation. People don't fucking use the bicycles enough, bro. All I'm saying, if we're in the apocalypse someday, I'm keeping my bike.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
we're in the apocalypse. I'm gonna steal your bike.
Probably would.
I'm just gonna come pop your tires. That's all I'm gonna do. Yeah. I hope you have extra tires for the apocalypse.
That'd be the only thing.
I think that's one reason is because like that bike would probably be coveted, and people would just do things like pop your tires. So you'd have to really, really protect that thing. Like you couldn't just like leave it. Like, you'd have to like.
You got to maintain a bike too. Really. You don't got to feed it, but you got to lube it.
We got bike locks. There's all sorts of bike locks.
You use a bike lock after the EMP drops, dude.
I have a bike and I have a bike lock for my bike. Come on.
I've been watching Dark Angel. You guys remember that show?
James Cameron's Dark Angel?
A little bit, yeah.
It's a good show.
Yeah, she wasn't. They're bike messengers.
Yes, they are.
That's so. There we go.
And it's a post-apocalyptic. The EMP drop didn't affect the bikes. So you think
James Cameron knows what I'm talking about.
Stephen King was like, things blow up a bomb. EMP takes out all the electronics. He's like, what if it didn't take out all the electronics? What if instead it made all the electronics want to kill you?
But mostly just the trucks.
Fuck everything. It's just gonna be trucks.
And like big trucks, not like, SUVs or pickup trucks, just the big fucking ones.
Think about Stephen King's mind.
With green faces.
The shit that he's like spit out, all the books he's written, all the stories written, like to think of all of that, to think of all the detail of the backstory and the way it starts and ends and how things connect, like there's got to be some that just aren't as good as others, obviously, and some that he like doesn't take as seriously as others, right? Like that's got to be crazy. Like I don't have a mind like that can think of like all that.
Do you think when he's writing something, he's like, this one's not that good, but he continues to write it?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm almost saying like sometimes some of them are just better than others, and I don't know if he knows it until it's over. But like sometimes it just happens. So another person who's made a lot of things is a Woody Allen. I take Woody Allen as an example. The dude has literally made a movie every year for the last like 25 years or 30 years, or every other year at least. And some of his movies are great, and some of them are okay, and some of them are horrible. And I think it's because when you make something that often, it's just always not going to be good as another one in some ways. Like it's just how it works.
It's quantity over quality.
Good is also relative. Like, you know what I mean? If like maybe he was in the mood of, I just want to write a fucking story about trucks that kill people, as opposed to when he wrote fucking The Stand and he was talking about like biblical proportions and the fates of people and society.
This is also
down, you know what I mean?
This was also a short story written for a comic book series, like Creepshow, as opposed to Carrie that had The Stand that had a message that he was thinking. I think these were more closer to commissioned works, if anything, than like passion projects that he had.
Yeah,
which also puts this movie in a little lighter category. It's just like, you're right that this movie was just like, this is just something I wanted to do. Is this Carrie? No, but it's fucking awesome because look, the trucks are cool. And you know what?
Exactly.
When I watched this movie the first time, I agreed. I thought the trucks were cool.
But for a writer with so many stories and so many characters, you don't think he could have like written a better character or characters? Because all, like we said, all of the characters are very one-dimensional. They're just kind of there. There's no like, not necessarily like a lead. Maybe
there's
Estevez is the lead, but there's not
Estevez and Brett, the female character. I feel like she is like the female lead, and Estevez is the male lead.
I have a theory on that. I think it's because Stephen King writes books. He writes these very long things, and he has lots of time to explain things and get into things. Writing a screenplay is different. You have to condense everything you want to say into like 100 pages or so. Like if you're lucky, you can get like a 2-hour movie and get 120 pages. Like I think you have to tell a story in a shorter form, and I don't think Stephen King doesn't write scripts. He's been writing forever and he doesn't write scripts, so that's obviously, I think I'm right.
No, he writes scripts. He's written a lot of the movies out. He's written a lot of screenplays as well, like that people have made into films.
Of his own stuff. Maybe I'm thinking there's more than it actually is, but I was under the impression he's got several of his movies were his screenplay works.
I don't think that's the case, but I'm checking it out.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken.
I remember he's got a lot of story by credits, a lot of story by
interviews with him. Seems like he doesn't do that a lot, or the interview that I watch about this, because he had to be like convinced to write the screenplay for this movie.
Okay,
yes, he doesn't write that. That's what I'm saying. Like people who write books can't always write screenplays because they can't condense it enough to make it like the story they want to tell. You know what I mean? I think it's he doesn't. Why would I make it if I'm not going to be good at it? You know,
his best books are not small by any means. Yeah. I think The Stand,
out of all of these 133 I'm looking at, none of these have said anything but story by or based on.
Yeah, you're right. My bad.
It's all good. I'm just saying, like, I just knew that about him, because if he would have been, I feel like he would have wrote that like I think did he write the Shining one? He did. We should find that out. Did he write the remake of The Shining? Did he write those scripts? That would be. I would think he did, because he hated Kubrick's.
Yeah, he's got screenplay by The Children of the Corn 2019.
He did Children of the Corn. That makes sense.
I think he might have done some of the TV stuff. It says based on / screenplay by.
Okay.
So I think he's done some screenplays, definitely some, but not Probably not as
Well,
many as I thought. It's probably a few.
I think he did The Shining. Did you already say that?
No, he didn't do The Shining. Well, the miniseries.
The TV.
Miniseries.
That's what I'm talking about.
That. He also wrote Creepshow. We forgot about that. Remember? He did that.
Yeah. What about It? Did he do the TV version of It?
I don't know.
I think we could put King in two categories. We could put him in like the Creepshow trucks category, and we could put him in the Shawshank Redemption, Carrie, Shining category. Where
no, he didn't write It. He wrote the novels based on two other people wrote it. Tommy Lee Wallace and Lawrence D. Cohen.
Cat's Eye. He did. Cat's Eye.
That's the Dario Argento movie.
Okay. Well, he wrote that one, the screenplay for. So maybe that was
so
that
he wrote
was
a few. So he
wrote
three
a few,
or four.
but not that many. Screenplay. Pet Cemetery.
The original Pet
Cemetery. He wrote the screenplay for the.
I remember the first time I watched that.
Scary as fuck.
The original Pet Cemetery is crazy. The little kid, dude. That little kid's insane.
The aunt, the fucking aunt in the bed, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So scary.
Yeah.
So spooky. I don't know why like a sick person made me more uncomfortable than like dead animals coming back to life, but it did.
Dead animals. What about the dead baby, dude?
The dead baby was creepy as fuck, dude. That movie that's a good movie, dude.
Dead baby got
the remake actually was good
driver.
too.
The remake wasn't bad.
Sick. The remake was sick.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
I don't think I watched it, but I heard the kid was equally as creepy.
He was.
They did they did like a little twist to it, which I think I appreciated because they kind of took a different.
What, they made it a girl?
Something like that. No, there was some. I don't remember specifically what it was, and I don't want to ruin it.
I want to ruin it. Yeah.
There's certainly there was a shift in the narrative that was like, oh, that was different, and it was kind of cool because when you're watching remakes, you're expecting it to go one way, and sometimes that can be boring because you've seen
John
it all.
Lithgow
So when you get different little
come
parts,
out of the grave.
Like, oh, that's fun. John Lithgow was in it though. He was the old man. You don't want to go down that road.
You don't want to go down that road.
He's the guy from South Park.
John Lithgow is the original one, right?
No, that was the dude that played Herman Munster.
Yeah, that was that guy. They're gonna fuck your wives. The milkman's coming.
I don't remember that. I don't know what his name.
Remember that's the South Park thing. Remember he did the character.
That's Bill Hader. Though I think those characters are Bill Hader.
Yeah, but that's what it's based off. It was based off of that guy.
Yeah, you don't want to go down that way. Well, there was a Pet Cemetery episode, and then they kept going with it.
Yeah.
He goes. You don't want to go down there. Just around the corner there and over the hill. It's only not that far, but you definitely don't want to go.
That's Bill Hader.
That was and Bill. It's the same, like, because it's the same guy that goes. He's the one that shits or bridges. Is that the same guy?
No. Remember in the episode where Cartman wears the Bane masks and they all think the UPS drivers fucking their wives? That's the guy. He's over there fucking your wives. That's the guy. That's what I'm talking about.
I think that's the same guy.
He tells the story about when they were younger, the milkman used to come and fuck all their wives.
Yeah, and now it's the FedEx man.
Yeah,
the UPS man. UPS man's over there fucking your wives.
I think Cartman's like, yeah, I found you, Mr. UPS man.
That's a good episode. I forgot about that episode. Anyway,
that's a good one.
They find back to trucks here. They're in the thing. Kid makes it there. They find a bunch of guns. Emilio and Brett bang, and they eat some cake.
Brett was a hottie.
She was a hottie. Also, the fun fact of her when she was introduced, she was fucking dressed like Indiana Jones. She had like a leather jacket on and a 3-piece suit underneath it. And Dina De Laurentiis was like, "The fuck are you doing?" Like she. So there's a point in mid movie where she's like, "I need to change." That guy had his hands all over me, and then she's wearing like a low cut shirt and a skirt, and that was Dino De Laurentiis's idea. Why does that guy sound familiar? What else has he done? Why is he famous?
He's like
so many things.
Prolific 80s movie producer.
Well, not even 90s
like
too.
Like 70s, 90s,
everything. Nah, well, not ever proven. Who knows? He's an old Italian man, so he's probably done some bad shit.
Oh, that's racist.
But that name is on so many movies. You're right though. It is almost like what Weinstein was in like the 90s. How you see that name on like all the movies. It seems like in the 80s. That was kind of that was the name.
I mean, he did fucking Silence of the Lambs. He did fucking a lot of big shit too.
Yeah, and even in that like horror.
It's just a name. It's a name you know.
Yeah. Dude, he's been producing shit since the fucking 50s. I'm looking at his IMDb now.
Yeah, he's a legend in the.
Got 190 producer credits. He was started like the fucking 40s. Jesus, how old is this guy? He's dead now. I'm sure.
Been dead for like 20 years or 30 years probably.
Yeah, 1941. His first film, La Morea Canta.
He lived to the 2010. He was 91.
Shout out to Dino.
He won a good
Oscar
for.
My name's Dino.
For La Strada, his best foreign language film. He also won the Lifetime Achievement Award too at the Oscars.
Right.
Cool.
Producing, Halloween, the Halloween sequels, things like that. Conan the Barbarian. Yeah.
I mean, he produced everything.
Movies we grew up on.
Red Dragon, Hannibal, U-571, Bound.
He did
Assassins.
a lot. David Lynch's 80s movies.
Army of Darkness.
Maximum Overdrive.
Blue Velvet, Manhunter.
There was another fun fact about Army of Darkness. I think it was something about Stephen King really liking Sam Raimi, and Sam Raimi was like making Army of Darkness, and he was like not doing good with it because he was like running out of money or something, or he couldn't do it because he was running out of money, and so he got Dino to produce it for him.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's another good example of camp horror right there.
Yeah, Evil Dead too.
You're right.
Sam Raimi directed part of Maximum Overdrive
and there's
as well.
no way that did he? Yeah. It's just I think the point of me bringing up campiness was to have a conversation of it, because I think I do need to change my mind on what I think campy is or was or can be, and I think I have changed my mind. You have changed my mind. I appreciate that.
It can be good.
So trucks run out of gas. They start blowing each other up. One of the trucks comes up with the gun. The gun's like starts shooting at, kills the owner, kills the wife. We made you. Like she kept running out and fucking, which I think I don't know because they wrote one song for this movie. All the other songs that AC/DC in this movie AC/DC did, other than like the scorey songs, were just songs from their previous albums. But Who Made Who, I believe, if I remember, they wrote that for this song, or it was released with this movie. I don't know. But yeah, We Made You, Who Made Who. I think that's for that. They run out of gas, and then when they get gas, he blows them up, right?
Yeah, they end up isn't there more cool deaths in the diner or no?
I don't think so. I think they bring the guns out.
They were shooting at the people, and
she shoots I think they probably kill about 3 people in the diner with the guy just shooting and then the owner has the bazooka. He blows up one. Yeah, I think it kind of just peters out there.
Yeah, they shoot him up. They shoot the girl up. They shoot a couple people inside up.
Sad because it could have.
It does kind of
just cooler.
It just kind of just does end. It was just like, oh, that was it.
They crawl out. They crawl out, Andy Dufresne style, out of the toilets to get
reminded me of that too. I was waiting for him to do this when he got out.
Yeah, and then they get on boats and they get the fuck out of there.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of character development.
0 character development.
Not a lot of logic, character development, continuity, or
what continuity are you worried about?
I don't know. I just remember specifically. I don't other than like the bridge. I just remember there was a lot of random like cuts that were like, okay, that was there, and now it's over here. Oh, okay, it was just kind of like you just gotta just accept it.
Well, that
happens in like Jurassic Park a lot too, so you got to give it a break.
Yeah. They shot that bazooka like 3 times without reloading it. They just kept picking it up and shooting it again.
Right. Yeah, it was things. Yeah, just little things like that. Little like the gun. Like that's not electronic. That's not a machine. That doesn't. I had those thoughts like. Just little, why aren't they using the military weapons instead of this fucking giant semi truck? Like, I don't know.
Well, they didn't. And he says that he was like, he could have because they need him because they're out of gas. They needed him to come pump the gas on. And then they're like, so the what's fucked up? What's crazy? So
why does he pump the
gas? Were
gas?
the aliens beaming themselves into the electronics and then taking over through the electronics in the short amount of time that they had before they got blown up by a Russian satellite?
I'm not convinced the aliens were even considered until the end of the movie when they're like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh, why don't we have be aliens?
I'm trying to put it together now, though. So that I think that's right. What I think that makes sense. Right. I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Like that it's not trucks because they're talking to them. The trucks are talking to them at a certain point through like a drive-through, like, and then they were talking through them through one of those. That trucks can't talk.
Oh, wacky.
It's either that or they just made him come alive somehow. And the one you just said is probably more reasonable of the two, so I'll go with that one.
Trucks knew English, so it was cool.
Yeah, but they're aliens. They're smarter, right?
No. Aliens aliens hidden behind this comet.
Mog
coming over the Earth, hidden, were able to shoot down their green beam, and it affected the electronics in such a way that they could import themselves into the electronics, right?
I guess. But then a satellite, which is an electronic, destroyed the UFO when it could have just been
right? It was a Chinese or a Russian
Soviet
weather satellite.
Yeah, Soviet weather satellite.
So, but also like because they made it clear in the very first part that it was a comet that had a very specific to the second amount of time that it would have been passing through the Earth, which which implied to me already that that's what's making the electron. You didn't have to explain. Like they.
So I bet it blew your mind when you figured out the truth.
Well, they try to explain more that didn't need explain. If they just left it at that, it would have just been like, all right, shit was crazy because the comet. But then you add this alien element to it, and then like, then it gets all like
crystal
weird
skull.
Then it gets all wonky because then you got to figure out, how did they destroy the aliens? And they did it this way, but that doesn't make sense because the aliens should just control that. It's just the whole ending was just dumb that they added it like that with that scroll at the end. Just left it with them going out to the thing and forget about the other boats. Just get to the island.
Well, I think what I said is the way to go.
It's pretty abrupt. It's like all this movie's ending. It's like, and then the aliens. You're like, wait a second, you're aliens? That's what happens?
I think they got to the end of the edit. And they were like, all right, cool. Well, we'll just take the final act whenever you're ready. And they're like, and Stephen King's like, well, that was it. What are you talking about? That's it. The boat. They're out of there.
They left the boat and they're fine.
Like, okay, well. They made it.
And then they're like, well, fuck, all right. And then the editor's like, well, there was that scene about the guy theorizing about the aliens. Let's just do that.
So that's what it is. Aliens transported themselves into our electronics and took over the electronics, and they were trying to kill and expand, but they didn't want to kill everyone because they needed their gas. So that
yeah, they needed to kill the human race.
And then when they ran out of gas and they had no more gas and they lost all their leverage, they still didn't kill them. Then they got sassy with the trucks, started slapping them around and shit, blowing them up.
Yeah, it seemed at first that the trucks had some sort of like.
I do like trying to make logic.
They were like trying to be, they were trying to like act in self-interest occasionally. In the beginning, when they were like weren't running into the buildings, because I'm like, the trucks don't want to hurt themselves, so they're not going to smash the buildings because they'll hurt. And then that went away. And I'm like, okay, now they're just going to run into the buildings. Okay, all right, fine.
Yeah,
a little too much to just accept.
I think Metallica would have been a cool soundtrack for this too. I don't think Fuel had come out by this point, but that would have been great.
If you put a horror movie soundtrack on this movie, it's totally different. Like, it might take some of the campiness away, to be honest. Like, if you put, like, fucking a dreadful kind of soundtrack over it, like, it could be a totally different movie.
Yeah, but this was 80s, and everyone was on cocaine.
80s all day.
They needed to have the rock music. They needed to rock out.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was, like I said earlier, it was almost like an action comedy soundtrack to a movie that they were trying to make a horror movie.
Well,
yeah, I think he could just do whatever he wanted, and he just did whatever he wanted.
I think 100%. I think that's a fact. I think we know that because he did whatever he wanted to do, and then he went like this. Whoops, I'll never do that again.
Yeah, this is definitely an example of one of those movies. Like, it's fun as a kid, but then now it doesn't. I never saw it as a kid, but I don't think this would hold up. Did this hold up for you at all, or is it just kind of
for nostalgic value? It made me feel great. I loved watching this movie. I watched it 3 times.
Nostalgia can be there.
It made I there was some things I forgot. I forgot about when I first watched it again. I forgot about the baseball, like the soda machine one. I forgot about that, and I forgot about all the baseball shit. That fucking steamroller. I forgot that they found a bunch of guns, even though they didn't really utilize those to the extent that they should have. I found, they were just watching it over again. I was like, I remember why I love this movie when I was a kid, and that it made me think of my grandpa and like what we would do. We would shoot guns over there and shit. Like that was like a time of my life when I was watching this movie.
That's cool. I love all that.
Did it hold up? I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed it still. What do you think?
So where does it rank in the Stephen King universe of movies, either directed or not directed by him? Where does it fall?
I gotta look at some movies. It's at the bottom.
I'm not saying you got to name them all, but like if there's 12, what number is it?
It's definitely low on the Stephen King list.
It's at the bottom.
Sure. And there's probably some Stephen King shit that's not as good, but I mean, what for a film, like quality wise, this was trash. Like, it wasn't good. It was fun,
trash,
but it was kind of trash.
Well, the script was trash.
Yeah, I agree. That part too.
It's hard, sometimes
trash.
It's hard to say things like that about any movie. Like, the fact that they completed this movie and it got edited together is like awesome.
Sure.
Like, the fact that we're even talking about it in a podcast means it's a good movie, right?
I certainly never heard of it until you mentioned it recently. I never knew about it.
That's wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm glad you watched it. Are you happy you watched this movie? This movie, in my opinion, has to be worth watching simply because it's his only movie that he's directed, and it's a good starter for fucking talking about Stephen King in general.
Sure, it was worth the conversation. I could have gone without it. I'm not like I'm so glad I saw this, but it was fun at times, and it was a fun conversation. So sure, we did it.
We did it, dude. Good job.
So glad we did it.
Here, let me add these up so I can give it a rating. What do you rate it?
Oh yeah.
I just pull numbers out of my ass. I'm gonna come out with a 3.2.
Wow, that's the lowest rating we've had in the show, I think.
No. Actually, last week when you did what was the Smoking Aces? That was like a 2. That was the lowest for me, 2.8. Wow. In our rating era, these have been our worst 2 movies in my opinion. These last 2. Good job, guys. Yeah.
I'm gonna go because I get it. Like, I get why people would love this movie. I get why people in the age love this movie. I get why people, fans of cars and just science and cool things happening and having fun and watching the movie.
8.5.
I get what it was. So I'm gonna respect
people that love science love this movie for sure.
I don't think
it's
DeGrasse
fun.
Tyson's
it's
favorite
fun,
movie.
you know?
So.
It's fun. It
is fun. It is. It's
I'm gonna give
it's fun. I'll give it fun.
Listen, it's guns, it's space, it's trucks, it's explosions. It's wild. It's pretty violent. It's dead. It's bloody. It's fun for a kid.
Got a sheen in it.
It's
got fucking sheen.
Got sheen.
Okay, sorry.
3.4.
3.4. I'll bump it from a 3.2 to a 3.4.
All right. I'm gonna say 6.1.
5.4 is 5.428 is my.
I think that's fair. 6 is getting a little wild, a little too high there.
All right, you're right. You know what? I retract that.
5 zones.
Can I retract it, or am I done?
5 zones.
No, you can retract it.
I adjusted mine.
If you want to, if we've persuaded you.
I did. You did a little bit. I was just thinking about it, and like what I would consider. Like if I made a movie and I got a 6, I'd be pretty happy with that. And I think to myself, I hope people wouldn't put what I made in cahoots with this movie, just in any way in general. So I'm gonna give it a 5.2.
5.2.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah. You get a 6. You did a good job.
What's the strongest attribute of this movie?
The kills. The fun kills.
Like
that's what this movie was. It was just showing you fucked up shit that was fun to look at. You know, that's what this was.
Yeah, it was silly. The silliness and the campiness is I enjoyed that part of it.
I think technically I loved the music.
I'm not an AC/DC guy.
I thought the cinematography was good.
Do I respect them? Sure, but that's not my type of music. You guys know that. That's my least favorite type of music.
Do you like Metallica?
I do, but Metallica does not sound like AC/DC.
Yeah, there's similarities.
AC/DC's
sure.
like tone. The AC/DC's like PG version of Metallica, in my opinion. Like they don't hit like Metallica hits.
It's like campier Metallica.
Well, Kirk Hammett is definitely fucking slaying it.
Metallica's not 80s hair metal.
It's not.
AC/DC's like late 80s.
No, Metallica's not hair metal. Metallica's heavy metal. Metallica's heavy metal.
All right, hair metal. I guess that.
AC/DC, but I don't even put AC/DC in like hair metal. I put them.
I would put them closer to hair metal.
They're closer to hair metal.
I just think about what Metallica looked like in the 80s, and you see
Guns N' Roses, like Guns N' Roses, and that's like the epitome of what you hate. I think Guns N' Roses and like
Poison, Poison, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses. Those are
those are. I don't think AC/DC falls in that quite in that category. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, I'll give you that, but Metallica's definitely not that category.
Definitely not.
Yeah, Metallica's heavy metal.
Heavy metal.
Anyway, yeah, watch this movie. Don't watch this movie. Whatever.
Check it out. You have to. If you like Stephen King, you have to.
Yeah, it ain't gonna change your life either way.
If you like Stephen King, watch The Green Mile.